to the Mixorcist. Hey everybody, welcome to the Mixorcist. Hey CW,
how's it going, guys?
How's it going?
I'm doing great. What about you?
I'm doing all right, man. You know, I've been hanging out in video hell here, getting, as you can see, we've got new digs, new setup, new rigs. We are doing it live off the floor now, right? So, you know.
That's going to be cool. I want to say thank you for doing all that. And all the post work, a lot of people don't realize it took like between 8 and 12 hours to post an episode before. Of like editing and transcoding and all that stuff. So now this should make it a lot easier for EB, which is fantastic, which means we can hopefully do more video. So thanks for doing all this, man. This is a beauty setup. I love it.
Oh yeah, man. It feels fun, man. It's like Star Trek Enterprise here. Right? I got a switcher here, got a foot switcher, and it's actually going, this is a maiden voyage. We didn't even really rehearse this or anything. So if we make mistakes,
this could go badly.
You know, if I say something like extremely offensive, there probably still is a chance to remove it, but you know, but not for much longer, right? Because the idea is we're going to be able to get these out like really fast now. Yeah. Right? Just crank them out almost in real time. We will be able to stream if we want to, although streaming does reduce the quality a bit, and we know that you tune into this station because you do want to hear the high res,
high quality audio. Yeah,
as far as YouTube can.
So thanks again. What about your horror movies? You had time in there anywhere to catch a couple films or what?
Yeah, I did. You know, I had one. Let me actually pull it up right now. One called the Mortuary Collection, and it is an anthology series. It's funny, right? Anthology / comedy can get pretty gory and pretty cool at times, and yeah, I really enjoyed that one. And how about yourself, man?
I've watched a ton. I watched one called Crawl, which is a movie about crocodiles that get into somebody's crawl space during a flood down in Florida. And it's pretty exciting. Like, I can't say it's the best acted movie I've ever seen, but if you love dismemberment, which you do, you're going to love this film. And it's suspenseful, right? It's not like a terror movie, but it's got some pretty tense moments in it. And then the other one was Jacob's Wife, which if you guys know, I love The Reanimator. So Barbara Crampton, who was from the Reanimator movie, I think she either directed or produced this, but I know she put a lot of her own stuff into it, and it came out great. It's like a little vampire movie with tons of gore, and it's like she plays a really empowered woman, so it's kind of different from her normal Scream Queen heritage and soap opera background. So she's really come out in terms of the content she's been putting out in the last decade has been fantastic. So guys, you got to check it out. You may have to rent this one. I don't think it's on streaming yet, but support these artists because she did a really great job, and it's so good to see her on screen again. So we've had some fun with movies in the past month. We had some fun with plugins too. What do we got today?
Oh yeah, well, let the games begin, shall we? We are looking at a new suite from Acustica Audio. It's called the Indigo Suite, and based around some very extremely high-end Danish-made tube gear. This particular EQ is a mastering EQ, and I think it has like 26 tubes in it or something like that. I've never seen one in the wild, if you know which one I'm talking about, but I've only seen one. I saw one on a video, and like Brian Lucy uses it for mastering and stuff. It's super great sounding plugin. But this is, of course, a suite that's got 5 plugins in there. So here's another one, which is, I don't know if I can even read that, but this is the...
It's Compressor.
It's a Compressor, yeah. So there's a stereo version of that as well. And there is this the stereo version? I believe that's what this is.
Yep.
And then there's stereo field manipulator, which is pretty cool. I didn't get to play with this one as much yet, but sometimes what I do like to do is mono the bass out so that the stereo content is like maybe like 100 hertz and up, right? And so I do have an example of that where that's pretty cool. And then finally, I believe this is it, is a 4-band EQ, but it's got this really cool kind of aggression knob on there, which gives you a lot of level and distortion, and we're going to check that out later. But do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first, or what do you think?
I'm happy to go first. I'll take on the, I think I'll take on the equalizer. I think we'll agree these are not carving tools, right? And we love carving tools as a rule, but this is more subtle, definitely. However, I would characterize this as saying that the top end and the bottom end are more subtle, but I really notice a lot of flexibility in the mids. There's tons of fun stuff to do. So let's just kind of walk through the controls real quick. First of all, it's a stereo joint, so you're going to have to, if you want the controls to move at the same time in stereo mode, you're going to have to link them. And I recommend you link them first before you start turning knobs. Otherwise, you're not going to like what happens. But also, it seems like in mid-side mode, you'd want to unlink them because the left side's your mid, the right side is your sides. Mm-hmm. And if you keep them linked, they'll keep turning together, which is almost never what you want in mid-side. So, the standard Acustica has got your little preamp switch, and it's one and done. There's no selector in this particular tool.
Right.
These equalizer bands, you have to individually engage or disengage, with the exception of the filters. Low pass and high pass are, I presume, always on. You notice there's interesting. You've got a 6 dB range and 12 dB range for the high boost and for the very low as well. And it works a bit like a Manley, where the dial is either in boost or cut mode. However, for the high and lows, it's either 6 dB or 12 dB of gain scale. So if you're not getting enough out of this, you can switch it to 12 dB in much the same way that the Aurum EQ has the Opal EQ has the detail knob. Same kind of trick. Make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it totally makes sense to me.
So let's put it into action here. I think that I just want to make sure all my controls are zeroed out, but the only thing here you'll notice is the lack of a bypass switch might make this a little bit laggy if you're trying to compare before and after. So we're going to use these engage and disengage controls. Let's check out just on a finished 2-track here, which was never really properly mastered and it was mixed really quickly. So let's dig in. So put it in stereo mode, and let's listen in for this high pass filter. Check it out. Do you notice how you can barely hear that? That's out, and this is in. A little tough to hear what it's doing there. I do hear that if anything, it's a little on the steep side, but at the same time, it doesn't go up high enough to really lose the bottom end. So unlike some equalizers, which will let you go up to the 200s or 300s, this doesn't go very far. So it really should be to remove just the lowest of the low. Let's check out at the same time, another area that I found really hard to hear was the air band, which I love air bands like most people because you're hoping it does that magical thing, right? But I'm putting it on 12 dB again here, and let's just crank it all 12 dB, bypass first, and then let's kick it in. Without. With. Without. And with. I'm not hearing it. Now let's bring this down to like 8 kilohertz to make sure it's not broken. Instantly you hear that, right?
Oh, wow, yeah.
And it's a nice top end. It's way too much top end, but it's a nice top end. I think you'll agree, really smooth. Notice that you can't adjust the Q here for this. It's you get what you get. But I can't hear that air working for the life of me. In fact, even going up to 14 or 16, I'm struggling to hear it. Not unusual for a shelf, but really found that unless you're hanging out in this somewhere to the 8 to 12, you may not hear it working. In contrast, let's check out these two mid controls, low mid and high mid, which do have adjustable Q. So let's grab, with this one, I find the middle's a little on the muddy side, maybe in the 5 to 700. There's just too much information. I might like to trim it up a bit. So let's give it a go. aiming for north of 5 here. Let's switch the filter to cut. And let's pull it all the way down just so you can really hear it. Nice. Let's try the Q. A little bit more scoopy there. Or sorry, maybe taking a little bit less out of the bass. And that feels a little narrower to me, like we're not losing as much information. So for this one, I kind of like what the medium was doing, and would back it off. Let's listen without and then with. Listen to the snare. It's not really hollowing out that big honky shelly sound, but it definitely is taming it a little bit, and I kind of liked it. It helped move it backwards to my ear because it was taking out what was probably the fundamental of the snare, was de-emphasizing that a bit. So I kind of like what that did there. Let's see what would happen if we were to boost it. So you'll notice that it's way more aggressive than the top or the bottom controls. Would you tend to agree that that's like definitely making way more of an impact? And I do. So here's the deal. Here's the deal with this EQ. If you like what the preset Q settings are doing for you, then you're going to love this. So it's one of those tools where you're going to choose it because of what it does and how it sounds for a particular job. In terms of flexibility, because it doesn't have variable Q, it may not be perfect for every situation, but if you like the way it sounds, you're going to really enjoy using it on your tracks, your mixes. Let's just check out the different Qs real quick. It's low Q. And then the higher setting, without. I mean, that's pretty aggressive. That's honky in a way that maybe you might not even want. So let me switch that back to cut. Let's make it a little more neutral. And let's see what else we could play with. Maybe we could listen to a peak around... What do you say we try 3 or 4K and see what it does? Oh yeah, there we go. Let's back it down to 3. It's more like 2. There we go. So let's take it away and see what it's working on. Let me just restart the loop. So without the high mid and with. Not bad. Just brings a little more mid-range in there, and let's we can sweep it up a bit higher and see what kind of nonsense it does up at call it 8K. So you know where I think this would be really useful, Eric, is if we delink these and put it in mid-side. I think it might be fun to grab a little bit of boost in the bottom. So here around 50, let's go a little bit south of 60 and boost down here on the mid side, disengage everything else.
Yeah, I mean, the mids
and let's see what that does.
The mids are so good on this unit, right? It's very phase linear, which is, it uses a different technology than most equalizers. I forget, it's like a frequency dependent amplifier or something like that. And that phase linearity is what I think in the mastering situation makes, you can just add like a half dB of something and just totally change the character without really messing with things too much. You know what I mean?
Let me throw down a little bit of low cut. Let's put it halfway up at 40, just so we don't create too much rumble in the down lows there. And let's see what that low sounds like. So disengaged. listen to the bass and the bass drum. Too much.
Oh, it's so nice though.
Now, no cue control there. No cue. So if you like it, you like it. If you hate it, you hate it. Nothing you can really do to trim it. Now, if we focus on the right side, this is where I'd go back and get some of that high mid. So what did we set up before that we liked? We liked 6.5, right? So high mid at 6.5 with a bit of a boost. And let's engage it and disengage everything else. And we won't bother trying that air again, but let's see what we could do with the tambourine and the guitars and the hi-hats and the cymbals that are all over the spectrum, just not right up the middle. So let's start without, and I'll kick it in. Here it comes. Okay, so listen, as an example, listen to the ride in the tambourine without. You hear it really kick in? And it's not just affecting the frequencies, it seems to have like a spatial effect too, because we're using mid-side. What's kind of characteristic of mid-side, right, is that because we are amplifying those frequencies just on the extremes, it seems to increase the sense of space, and I really like what it's done there. So let's A/B it. Let's shut it off, and then let's listen to that, just that little mid-side treatment, and see if we like it better. Here we go without the plug-in, and be prepared for a stutter. Go. Without. With. There we go. So it changed the energy of the bottom end and the energy of the top end without hollowing out or making it feel like we lost our mids somewhere. And of course, the mids are so powerful in this EQ that if you did want to treat them, this would be a great tool to do it with. So I'll stop talking there. Great in mid-side mode, but just a great overall equalizer. Just don't count on the top end. You know, those two shelves, don't count on those doing a ton for you. I had trouble hearing what they were impacting. Yeah. Let's look at the compressor real quick. Now, the compressor's got 3 modes. It's got off, of course, and then it's got C1, and then watch what happens to the attack and release controls. They disappear. So this is called an opto compressor. So if this has got a similar heritage to the LA2A or the Shadow Hills, or at least the opto part of a Shadow Hills, then this should do some cool stuff that I wouldn't really call mastering limited. I would say that you could use this on individual tracks. So let's try it on the whole track and see what it does. Let's go opto. I think we'd want a pretty high ratio. Go 10:1. Let's go. You can choose the preamps, obviously. Let's pull down the threshold until it starts to engage, and then we'll fix up the map as we need to. All right, so watching the gain reduction meters, nothing happened yet. I still see nothing happening. Oh, wait a sec. Maybe that right side, they're not gain reduction, are they? Yeah, they are.
Yeah, all right. Someone got to dig in before you get those lights. So.
Well, I'm at minus 30, minus 50. Let's try this here. It's very faint. Let's up the input trim, shall we?
That'll do it. That should do it.
So this is probably a defect. It looks like the metering is not fully corrected yet, or at least in Logic, it doesn't seem to be doing what I would expect it to do. But let's listen instead, shall we? Let's see what we can come up with here. There, you can hear it now.
Now you can hear it. What happened?
I just pulled it down. You see, this can't be quite right because it's almost binary all the way on, or just a tiny movement here, and it's kind of nothing.
It's kind of a really nice slow response that I'm hearing, right?
Yeah. Let me dig in for you. Let's work with what we got here. Just wait for the energy to come back up. It's a hair trigger, boy. Let's pull the makeup up so you can hear this, guys. Without. With. Yeah, you hear some action down in the bottom there, some cool stuff going on. With Acustica compressors, you're not always getting the three-dimensional impact that you would see in hardware or even some other software versions, but I can hear it working. Let's try one of the other modes. Let's try C3, where now we can control the attack and release. So I always like to hear what fast attack and fast release is going to sound like. So just note, you're going to have to go all the way to the left with the threshold, and you'll find there's a band of like around this much play between working and not working. So use the input trim to taste to maybe compensate for that. Let's go with a more subtle ratio now with 3:1. And the usual suspects are here for controls, of course, low pass filters, the SH mod, and let's have a listen.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't call that mastering only compression. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's got a little VCA kind of vibe. It's pretty quick. Let's dial it back a little. Let's go maybe around here for attack, and let's have a nice long release. Let's adjust the threshold. And again, without a bypass button here, let's pretend we can gain match this. That's without. And with. Without. And with. You can hear that it's really helping bring forward some of the changes we made with the equalizer in the previous step, because I heard a little bit more brightness there. This is more of the warm squeeze kind of hug that you would want out of your compressor. So again, take it with a grain of salt. It may not be the most three-dimensional compressor you've ever heard, but I did like what it's doing. The C1 model has got a lot more options and stops in terms of your ratio. Now, I haven't read the manual, so I don't know what these are meant to model, or if there's, I don't even know what this particular switch here, this SOA OVF thing does.
Yeah, well, I know that the three compressor models were C1 is I believe the same brand as the equalizer, which I'm not going to say now. I don't know why, because everybody knows that it's the Fairman TMEQ. But I believe so. I believe C1 is a Fairman compressor. C2, they talked about a California-based tube compressor. I believe it's probably a Manley Varimu. And C3 is like some kind of hybrid thing. So that's what I did manage to read in the manual there, which was about all I managed to read. I haven't spent any time with the different preamps to tell you, got to try this one, not try that one. So sorry, we haven't really spent the time there yet, but I went over, but I really enjoyed playing with these plugs, and I can see tons of use. Now, to be fair, we all have our favorite mastering EQs, and I wouldn't say that if you're a collector like we are, like if you're obsessive about it, you're probably grabbing this because, hey, that's what we do. But, I wouldn't say that this is so distinctly different from the other choices, but the tube part means you're imparting some character, and the flexibility, and yet with musically selected cues, I think will make this the kind of choice where once you hear what this does, you'll be like, I know when I want to use this and I know when I don't. Yeah, and love the mid side. That's absolutely right. There's a definite character, a tightening character. I guess you could call it glue, but it's a warm, kind of a gooey glue. If you've got a mix that's pretty gooey digital, glue. Pretty thin, you put it through this, and it's like, oh, I can hear what it's doing, and it's just. Oh, and then you dial in a little bit of low end, a little bit of top end, very smooth. It's got really excellent mids on it. I've been waiting for Fairman in digital format probably since I heard about them years ago. And then I was watching that Brian Lucy mastering video, and he had that thing going, and he put a little bit of 80 hertz. It's like, oh. And I am so glad that it was Acustica that did it in this technology. So I look forward to, again, we just got this thing, but I look forward to playing with it more. And, really checking it out. Do you want to see what I had going on? An example of that?
Absolutely. Let's check it out. Well, I know all about what you want to know all about.
So I got the, let's do the compressor first. I've got a track here which will play. It's a pretty good mix. You might recognize it from a previous video, but it's got a little bit of digititis going on.
A blinding star.
Let me...
Shining closer beyond from where you think you are.
So it's off. I just want you to listen for the whole weight of the track, the whole weight. Off. On. Off. Hear that bass? Now it was a bit louder, right? So it's not volume matched. So maybe it's not fair, but guess what, kids?
You
Life's
also had
not
the
fair.
Filter engaged.
Life's not fair. Yeah, I did. It was like about 50 or 60 hertz set there. So
you're letting some of the original dynamics come through, but nice pillowy bottom end. Great recording, I'm sure, but it seemed to accentuate just by having the compressor engaged. It seemed to really bring some of the bottom end forward.
Oh yeah, and that's I think that's just what the doctor ordered on this particular track, right? Because then it smoothed out those top ends, slowed it down just a little bit. So you've already covered the compressor, so let's not spend too much time on that. Let's do this guy here, which is if I can get it up here, is a 4-band equalizer.
Yeah, Grow EQ.
Yeah. But it's got an aggression knob here, which you can see, right? And that thing gives
everything should have an aggression knob.
And this thing gives you a lot of. I'll start with it dialed down, and we can hear what we mean. And let me go deeper into the song. So it's on right now, but there's no EQ, there's no aggression. Let's bring this aggression up. No aggression? Aggression? So I would say maybe around 50. Just for the fun of it. Let's just, so we can hear it. Let's give it more than we'd ever use. Oh, that's just pillow talk, man. Here's the air. And the air is up there, right? This may be a case where when it says 20 kilohertz, it actually is 20 kilohertz, which means that 3/4 of the population will not be able to hear it, because if you do hearing tests, right? You do a hearing test and you think you're hearing 20K because the knob says 20K and you dial it in and it's like, no, dude, you can't. 15. I bet you I couldn't even hear 16. Now that's just the reality, right? That's you know. But so it may be a case where it's actually like really accurate. But let's go back to that where. So here's where I get all confused because I got to hit the buttons here. This is plug-in number 4. So let's see if we got this right. There we go. See. It's
Nice.
working. So let's listen to these mids too while we're here.
From behind,
No air.
moving faster
Air.
than what was once a
It's there. You hear it on good headphones. Here's the high end. Just so you can hear these
can't wait.
hear these bands and what they're doing. Mids.
Won't break.
Oh, it's just juicy. And there's a mid shift, and I'm not sure what that does. That might probably change the frequency.
Totally.
Yeah, I think it's probably goes a bit lower when you turn it on or something. Let the low mids come up, or maybe the frequency of that band changes a little bit. But I was really liking that. And there is one more plugin I think we did not get to yet, which is the stereo field manipulator. And I've not used this one like a lot, but
Nor have I.
I'm not really actually that big on the stereo field trick, right? Because it's usually taking, you're separating mid-side and then you're raising the out of phase content on the sides and you're raising that up. So yes, you're changing your mix balance. So if you have the vocals too loud and the drums are just a bit too loud and the guitars are off to the side and you're sort of like, yeah, bring them up. But realize that you're not just making it wider, you're changing your mix, right? So, and when you play that on a mono system, not that anyone cares anymore, but that's all that work's going to be lost anyway, right? So some people call it a phase fucker. And I tend to agree. So when I do use it, and I will use it, and I'll use it for mastering and stuff, but I'm talking like 10%, and I'm probably doing something wrong, right? Like I'm usually about 3%, 5, 7 in extreme circumstances. I just want to hear that stereo field kind of open up a little bit. So let's off. On. So I'm going to increase the spread and you can hear it. I'll exaggerate it. And I'll go down to mono.
A shooting star.
It's trippy in the headphones, right?
A distant reminder of what you might
You can really dial a focus.
think you are.
So up here, it's just the drums are gone, right? So you don't want to go. You gotta be careful with that.
A trick in the light.
At the same time, it could use a little bit. I think about here.
Piece of a shadow that
Turn it off.
darker than night.
Just a little lift. And the other thing that's happening is that the bass is getting monoed out. So I'm taking out the very subs. I'm taking them out of the sides with this. So it's set to side, and then there's a high pass. So you can really move that up there. And that just gives you, that gives you mono in the bass frequencies. And it does sound like it's might be volume compensated too. Like, whereas like, I just sort of heard the center bass frequencies focus a little bit when I brought that up.
I noticed that too. It almost helped clean up the mix a bit in the sense that the bass can go back to the middle where it belongs and the rest of the mix becomes a little crisper, more tidy. What's the word I'm looking for? Almost like windshield wipers. It just kind of cleaned up, added some clarity to the rest of the mix.
Yeah. I mean, they call it the V shape, right? In mastering, sometimes they do. And the V meaning that the low frequencies are at the bottom or more in the middle. And then as you get up in frequency, it widens out. And that's, and if you do a mix or you do a mastering and you keep that in mind, just go for a V shape. Try that sometime. And you'll just see how it just sort of, you get more efficiency out of the low end drivers when it's played back on a system. And when the low's the same in each speaker, that can help with like phase issues in a room and stuff. I don't know. It doesn't always work, but sometimes it's just like a lovely thing just to have more bass in mono and then open up at the sides. So that's me, man. I mean, I think, I'm pretty happy with this. So I look forward to using it more.
Me too. I like this little setup. This works okay. You know what would be fun is to do some live stuff. We could try that. See how badly that goes.
Oh, that's not good. Not good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We probably can't do maybe not the audio, but, to get on and have a chat and just talk plugins or whatever, this would be a good way to go. So hope you guys enjoyed it. And it was our first trial, and touch wood, nothing's gone terribly wrong. So
yeah,
I thank you. You know what I'll do? I'm going to shout out to one of the guys who always watches and supports the channel. His name is Marco North. At least that's his name on Facebook. His artist name might be different, but Marco, if you're out there, I just want to thank you, dude, for writing in and saying, hey, love you guys, and for sharing your music. You make great stuff. I'm really excited for you, and I'm a fan of yours too. So guys, if you want to send in your mixes so we can hear them, or just, chat about music, we're out there. You can find us on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on Clubhouse, which is now open to Android users. We're everywhere. And we really appreciate all of you listening and supporting and just, spending 45 minutes listening to two doofuses just talk about nothing in particular. So thanks for giving us a shot and listening, man. It's great. It's great to meet you guys, and it's great to have you as listeners. Thank you.
Thanks to everybody. Thanks for putting up with us, and hopefully there aren't too many technical glitches when this thing goes up. And thanks for putting up with my foot pedal. I got to get used to it. The guitar players are always looking down at their pedals. We'll get better. That'll be all right.
Eddie to work it.
I'm enjoying it, man. All
right.
So
same here.
Yeah, pretty happy with it all, man. So. Thank you for
watching.
Dude.
Great work, by the way, Eric. You made it look great. Yeah, thanks, man.
Just getting there. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Check us out next time on The Mixorcist.